Hi everyone, welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's great to have you here. So what would you do if I said, I'm going to create a painting that incorporates nighttime and daytime? What kind of technique do you think I'm going to do? Anyway, I would like to do a piece like this one here that you can see, but do a split so it's horizontal rather than vertical. And I'm going to use some colours that I think remind me of the nighttime and then the daytime, almost like a very summery day. So I'm going to take you down to see the colours that I've chosen for my palettes. I'm also using the embroidery hoop. So you can probably now guess which technique I'm going to do. I'm going to take you down to see all the stuff. Remember, if you expand the box, I list all my ratios, all the paint brands that I use, and there's lots of hints and tips and information in there. So don't forget to check that out too. I'm really excited to do this. I'm so grateful that you're here too. So as always, let's see what we can create. So let me now take you in just so you can see a close-up of the colours that I'm using. So for my daytime side, I'm using these colours with the yellow being the base colour. And then this side is the nighttime, black on the base with these colours. I will of course list all these colours in the description box within the video. So let's now check out the consistencies. So this is the canvas that I've got. You can actually see it's quite a large canvas. I will include the measurements. I think it's 36 by 24, but I will double check and I'll list that in the description box. You can see that I've drawn a line in pencil across the middle of the canvas going horizontally. So that gives me my daytime and nighttime split. I've got my embroidery hoop ready, so that's going to go in the centre. And these are the colours all mixed up. So 1 part paint to 1 part water with all of these. So for the daytime, I've got a yellow base, black for the nighttime, and then corresponding colours that I think of for night and day. So they're all my colours. Let's see if I can show you the consistency. There we go, it just drizzles off the spatula, completely disappears, and that's just paint and water. So I'm ready. Let's go. So first of all, it's about getting the yellow and the black on the base. So I'm tipping the paint out from the cup, and then I'm going to use my palette knife to spread the paint across the surface area of the canvas. So now the base paint is down, I'm now going to place the hoop in the middle of the canvas. I have measured the canvas, so I'm just making sure I'm going to place it in the right place. I want it directly in the middle, so I'm just using my tape measure to assist me to ensure that I've got my measurements correct. So I'm now going to take one colour at a time, starting with the daytime side and placing those colours on the outer edge of the embroidery hoop. Once I've done the daytime, I'll then move on to the nighttime. So they are my colours. I've placed them on the canvas, and I'm now going to do a broad swipe. So you can see here the width of my toilet paper. I'm going to dip the paper into the paint, allow the paint to absorb into the paper, and then just slowly drag the paper from the centre to the outer edge, and it's going to take those colours along with it. I'm going to do 2 broad swipes, just where those lines where that yellow and that black meet, and then I'm going to reduce the paper again in size and then start to swipe all the way around that embroidery hoop. So what I would say is when you're swiping, just allow that paper to absorb some of the paint, and then just slowly drag that paper from the embroidery hoop to the outer edge. Don't rush that process, just allow it to glide across that paint. I'm then going to reduce the width of the toilet paper again by folding it in half. And where you see those larger gaps in that painting, I'm just going to reduce the size of those gaps by swiping again. And I'm going to continue doing that for the nighttime side and the daytime side. And then what I'll do is I'll take you in for a close-up before we continue with the process. I'm just going to remove the embroidery hoop, and then I'm going to use my torch to pop any air bubbles. But one thing that I have noticed is I won't be surprised if I have some movement on the nighttime side, because I do fear that there are more puddles of paint there that I really want. But I'm not going to let that deter me. I'm going to just let fate take its course and see what happens. So I'm going to now take you in for a close-up so you can see those swipes. You can see those colours against the yellow, which for me represent the daytime, and then those colours against the black, which represent the nighttime. So I'm going to let this dry, and then I'm going to continue with the process. Okay, so it's fully dry. As feared, I do have some movement on the darker side, but you know what? I don't hate it, and it's actually given me some more creative ideas for future pieces. So I look at this as a win-win. Just there you can see some of the movement with the lines, but it's all good. I'm going to show you more of that shortly. But first of all, I'm just going to use my spray paint, and I'm going to go around the edge and spray all the way around. I'm starting with a silver, and then I'm probably also going to add some white. But once I've done the silver, I'll show you it as a reveal so you can see what you think. And as always, I've not taped down the tissue in the middle because I do want some of that spray from the paint to go underneath. But I also want just a slight line of definition just to almost represent the eye. Okay, so here we go. Let me take this off. I am going to add some white also in some of those corners, but you can see a very slight definition where that paper has come away. And you can also see on that dark side some of that movement from the lines that I've swiped. But as I said, I don't hate it, and I actually really quite like it, and it's given me some ideas. But that is the effect that you will get if you have more paint, that volume of paint on your canvas. If it's not a consistent layer, you will get movement. So that's the result of that, and that is why that's happened. So sometimes there's some happy mistakes, and this is one of them. So this is with just the silver around the edge. I am also now going to add the white, which I've done off camera. But as you can see, by just adding a little bit more, a bit of white in all of those corners, so I've more concentrated on the corners. That's just given a little bit more light to those darker areas and some great composition and perspective. So I'm really happy with that. A big thank you for sticking with me. I hope you've enjoyed this creation. Let me know if you want me to experiment with some different colours too. But I've got lots of ideas for this technique, so see more of this in the coming months. I hope you're well, and I hope I get to see you again in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye.